Republic of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir, in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum. Following the meeting, al-Khrenij said that he conveyed greetings of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah and his wishes for further progress and prosperity to Sudan. During the meeting, he expressed Kuwait's support to Sudan in various domains of politics, economy, and investment. The Deputy National Assembly Speaker said that he conveyed from the Sudanese President admiration and appreciation for His Highness the Emir, the humanitarian leader, for his continuous support to Sudan at all levels, reflecting his love for the country and its people. The delegation accompanying the Deputy National Assembly Speaker comprised the MPs Hamdan Salim Al-Azmi, Majid Musa Al-Mtairi, Muhammad Marwi Al-Hadiya. The state of Kuwait called on the international community to fight against violent extremism and terrorism through cooperation with the UN strategy and Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's plan on banning terrorism. The remarks was delivered at a high-level session of Geneva Conference on Preventing Violent Extremism, which was held for 2 days and was sponsored by the UN and the Swiss Foreign Ministry. Permanent representative of the State of Kuwait to the UN and international organizations in Geneva, Ambassador Jamal Al-Ghnaim, said that the 5-pivot strategy focuses on preventing any linkage between extremism and terrorism with a certain religion, civilization, race, or nationality, setting up national, regional, and international plans to combat extremism and the necessity to balance between resistance, extremism, and confronting terrorism. Ambassador Al-Ghnaim stressed on paying attention to the main reasons behind the phenomena of indiscrimination, racism, disregard of religions, hatred of Islam and foreigners, occupation, without linking the issue to rights breach or lack of freedoms. He also emphasized the importance of providing education and awareness in the fight against destructive ideas. Ambassador Al-Ghnaim affirmed Kuwait's keenness on cooperating with the UN and its chief strategies, as well as enhancing the effectiveness of the international cooperation to fight such phenomena. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry stressed that the U.S. and the GCC's cooperation is fundamentally important for the stability of the region. Kerry's visit comes ahead of a summit in Riyadh that President Barack Obama will attend with the GCC member states on April 21st. Kerry said he and the Gulf leaders would discuss establishing peace in Yemen and Libya and the fight against IS. He was speaking after a meeting of the GCC foreign ministers in Manama, Bahrain, also attended by Saudi Foreign Minister Adil Al-Jubair. Al-Jubair said the Gulf Arab states rejected the intervention of Iran in the affairs of the GCC states and its attempts to smuggle weapons into some of the GCC states. Kerry noted that the GCC have worked together with the U.S. to handle Iran's challenging behavior.
Very unified and extremely productive over the course of the last year plus, where we have dealt with the Iran nuclear agreement, dealt with the challenging behavior of Iran and others in the region.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry visited Iraq today to show support for its prime minister, who is grappling with a political crisis and a fight to retake ground from the IS militants. Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi last week proposed a cabinet reshuffle that aims to curb entrenched corruption by replacing long-time politicians with technocrats and academics that led to opposition from other parties. Kerry met with Foreign Minister Ibrahim al-Ja'fari earlier in the day, noting that Iraq is going through a very critical time. He reiterated the U.S. strong support for the Iraqi government as it faces significant security, economic, and political challenges. Iraqi army officials said that counter-terrorism forces, together with the army forces, regained full control of the central heat in Iraq's western province of Anbar from the IS militants. From Baghdad, Rihab al-Rikabi.
The Iraqi military announced on Thursday that it had regained full control of central heat in Iraq's western province of Anbar from IS militants. Iraq's counter-terrorism forces, who are leading the offensive together with the Army 73rd Brigade and 16th Division forces, have entered the center of Heat city and raised the Iraqi flag above the city's buildings. Heat is strategically important because it is connected to Fallujah, Haditha, Ramadi and the district of Al-Qa'im on the Iraqi border with Syria, and retaking Heat will allow the Iraqi forces to cut off IS major supply lines between IS strongholds stretching between Iraq and Syria. The liberation of Heat city will also lead to the recapturing of more strategic areas along the Euphrates River Valley.
Hopefully not only Heat, but all the regions of Anbar province will soon be liberated. The Iraqi joint forces and tribal fighters are in high moral and determined to defeat IS militants, and such major victories were achieved with the US-led coalition air support.
Over the past 2 weeks, the Iraqi forces have made significant headways under the cover of the Iraqi and coalition airstrikes that contributed to the liberation of Qubaisa area, which later enabled the Iraqi forces to make advances towards the central part of Heat and open up humanitarian corridors for the civilians trapped inside. While the Iraqi forces have evacuated thousands of families as they have purged IS militants from Heat's northern and western neighborhoods, thousands more were forcibly moved by IS militants as they retreated to act as human shields. Iraq's elite counter-terrorism forces say that around 20,000 civilians are still trapped inside the city of Heat.
The military operations proceed at a good rate. The Iraqi Army, Federal Police and Popular Mobilization units have so far succeeded to score a string of victories, especially in Heat city around Ramadi and the town of al-Baghdadi and areas in the vicinity of northern Mosul city. This shows that the Iraqi armed forces have put their feet on the right path in terms of strategy, planning and coordination.
Moreover, the US military and Joint Chiefs of Staff say that more small military outposts are needed to provide additional artillery support and other aid to the Iraqi forces as they prepare to retake the northern city of Mosul from the grip of IS group. Iraqi army commanders have touted the victory in Heat city as a major success for the Iraqi army and volunteer forces that will ultimately break the spine of IS militants in their last bastions in the north of the country. Reporting for Kuwait TV, Rihab al-Rikabi, Baghdad.
Thank you, Rehab. The custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, announced that a bridge linking the country to Egypt will be built over the Red Sea. King Salman said in a statement that the bridge would boost commerce between the two allied countries. He made the announcement during the second day of his visit to the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Egyptian President, His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, said the bridge would be named after the Saudi king. King Salman is currently on a 5-day visit to Egypt, where he is expected to announce more trade and cooperation agreements. The king has signed a number of economic accords, including the framework for a number of loans signed in March, worth over $20 billion. UNRWA denounced the Israeli demolitions of refugees' homes in the West Bank and the east of Jerusalem, which has tripled since the beginning of 2016 compared to the past year. From Ramadi, Fatima Abdul Karim has more.
The main United Nations body working for the relief of Palestinian refugees, the UNRWA, issued a series of statements warning of a serious escalation in demolitions of Palestinians' homes. But in its last statement, it slammed the Israeli policy, which is spreading throughout the West Bank and East Jerusalem, targeting families and entire communities living in areas under Israeli control classified as Area C, as well as the families of Palestinian martyrs. Measures that Palestinians believe have a political aim.
The Israeli measures against the Bedouin communities around Jerusalem and now inside it are in complete harmony with the policy of the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and making more room for the settlers.
Compared to last year, the 4 months since the beginning of 2016 have shown the highest monthly rate of demolitions in at least 7 years. The rate is 165 homes demolished per month. According to Palestinian and UN officials, those measures add up to collective punishment, especially in light of continued settlement expansion and land confiscations in the same areas.
First of all, the destruction of the houses goes along with the ethnic cleansing that Israel is doing, either in East Jerusalem or as well in the Jordan Valley and the rest of the West Bank. Particularly East Jerusalem. When they destroy a Palestinian house, they didn't allow the Palestinians to build their houses, and on the other side, they are building settlements on the land of the Palestinians. It means that they are replacing Palestinian families by Jewish Israeli settlers.
According to the United Nations, there are at least 11,000 demolition orders underway, risking the lives of thousands of Palestinians in the Area C of the West Bank, which is the 60% that Israel controls completely and in which it is building settlements. Israeli officers have testified themselves, saying that measures with regards to building construction and zoning towards Palestinians are far more severe and that settlers get the subtle preferred treatment. Fatma Abdel Karim, State of Kuwait Television, Ramallah, Palestine.
Thank you, Fatma. Syrian rebel forces took over a town near the Turkish border that had been the main stronghold of the IS in northern Aleppo countryside. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said factions fighting under the banner of the Free Syrian Army, some supplied with arms by Turkey and other foreign backers, captured the town of Al-Rai after fierce battles with the militants. Meanwhile, international journalists visited the ancient city of Palmyra after Syrian regime troops, with the support of the Russian airstrikes, regained control of the historic site. Some of the city's most prominent monuments and archaeological sites were destroyed or damaged when the city was under the control of the IS group. Elsewhere, fighting between the Syrian regime army and its supporters and the IS group in Deir el-Zur city were reported. A delegation from the International Islamic Charity Organization arrived in Lebanon visiting several camps of the Syrian refugees. From Beirut, Layal Saad has this report.
The International Islamic Charity Organization has launched a new helping campaign in Lebanon dedicated to the Syrian refugees. It is the We Are With You campaign. To the Bekaa, the delegation headed, where it has toured several camps, given the huge number of refugees residing there. The first stop was at the Wadi camp.
We came from Kuwait. Already since the war started in Syria, Kuwaiti people from His Highness Amir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Jabir Sabah, he was the first one to be beside the refugees. And still till now, His Highness and the Kuwaiti people and the International Islamic Charitable Organization directing us to come to here to be beside the refugees, to help them and to see their needs.
From the Wadi camp to the Barlies camps, the delegation has moved, listening to the refugees' needs and hardships and providing them with essential needs. We are very thankful for your help. It is extremely important. It lifts us a little bit. These helps are very needed. Thank you so much. The delegation continued its tour, arriving to Al-Rahman camp, distributing further helps without forgetting the kids. I love the International Islamic Charity Organization a lot because they were the first to come and help us when our camp went on fire. And after that, they've been always providing us food when we had nothing at all.
I
want to tell Kuwait that I love you because you give us food to eat, and I want to send you a kiss and a hug. I'm very thankful for Kuwait's help because they are helping us a lot. The helps allocated from the Kuwaiti people to the Syrian refugees in Lebanon and around the world are a sweet call to remind the refugees that they will not be left alone. Today's tour has already reached 2,500 Syrian families, and the campaign will be extending to reach more than 15,000 by its end. Layal Saad, Kuwait Television, Bekaa.
Thank you, Layal. Two ferries carrying more than 120 migrants returned to Turkey from the Greek island of Lesbos today in the second round of arrivals under an EU deal with Ankara to stem mass migration to Europe across the Aegean Sea. The accord, which came into force on Monday, aims to help end the chaotic influx into the European Union of migrants and refugees, most fleeing war and poverty in the Middle East and beyond, after more than 1 million arrived last year. Around 325 people have now been sent back from the Greek islands under the accord, which the UN Refugee Agency has condemned and rights advocates said may violate international law. They are to be sent to a camp near Turkey's border with Bulgaria, to which the UNHCR said it had yet to gain access. Libya's newly formed anti-militant forces were deployed throughout Tripoli with the goal to seize the militants and deter them from carrying out attacks and destabilizing the capital. The Special Deterrence Force is a brigade of more than 600 men whose focus has shifted from anti-vice operations to rooting out IS militants. The advance of the IS in Libya has not been smooth, and despite warnings from some Western officials, questions remain about its strength and potentials. This came as the U.S. military reported that the IS doubled its base of fighters in Libya during the past year. The military report said that the number of militants in Libya has now surpassed 6,000 fighters. And finally tonight, the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait held a reception last night hosted by the U.S. Ambassador to Kuwait, His Excellency Douglas Silliman, to review Mozart's opera Don Giovanni, which was a musical performance by the popular Ahmadi music group. In collaboration with Kuwait's National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, Ahmadi Music Group will present the musical night in Abdul Hussein Abdul Rida Theater in Salmiya next week on the 14th and the 15th of the month for the public. Here is more on the previews held in this report by Salim Al-Kandari.
Sponsored by the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, the Ahmadi Musical Group previewed the upcoming opera concert Don Giovanni by Mozart at the Embassy's premises, live, attended by a large audience.
Well, I'm very excited to have you here this evening for the television audience. We're here in my garden this evening with Richard Bushman, the director of the Ahmadi Music Group, and we've just finished a performance of opera music because we wanted to share with Kuwait a piece of American and European culture. The Ahmadi Music Group has brought some very good singers from Europe, and they will be performing next week an opera, and I would like to let Richard Bushman tell you a little bit about that performance.
So next week on the 14th and 15th of April, Thursday and Friday night at the Abdul Hussein Abdul Rida Theater in Salmiya, we'll be doing a fully staged opera. That means costumes, scenery, drama, ballet, live orchestra, professional singers, big chorus, maybe 100 people on stage. We do it in the traditional way, no microphones, every sound is natural. We think it's an amazing thing. We hope that people would come along and enjoy it. All the information is on our website, ahmadimusicgroup.com. Hope we'll see everyone there.
Here is a closer glimpse of the performance for you.
Here's the culprit. This guy did it. Now I'll make him pay the price. He'll pay the price. Right, you've had it. Oh, please don't do it. Here's your sentence. Please don't do it. Here's your sentence. Please don't do it.
You would rue it. You would rue it. Oh, yes. He assumes from this deception. He assumes from this deception. This deception.
Once the thunder brings a deafening it will drive me to distraction. It is just in the heavens, and it sings worse things to come. From that thunder brings a deafening it will drive me to distraction. I see storm clouds in the heavens, menacing worse things to come. Thunder brings a deafening.
From the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, this is Salman Kenderi reporting for the English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Before we end, here's a quick reminder of today's headlines. The Deputy National Assembly Speaker meets with the President of Sudan in the Sudanese capital. His Highness the Emir sends cables of condolences to the Ministry of Interior and the family of the police officer who was ran over and killed in the line of duty. Kuwait calls on the international community to commit to the fight against violent terrorism through mechanisms of cooperation. U.S. Secretary of State arrives in Iraq in an announced visit to reiterate support for the Iraqi Prime Minister. The custodian of the two holy mosques continues his visit to Egypt, announcing that a bridge linking the country to Egypt will be built over the Red Sea.
عن عبادة بن الصامت رضي الله عنه أنه سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: ما من عبد